Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, who's now joining in to give us her view of the budget gone by. Thank you so much for taking time out and joining in. How are you looking at the budget on the whole? There have been some positive announcements. The market, though, doesn't take it very kindly. But how would you rate the budget on 10? And what have been some of your key takeaways, Ms. Shaw?
So let me tell you how I rate the budget. I think it's a very holistic budget, a very aspirational and visionary budget. And it is really focusing on creating this economic, inclusive economic growth model. I give the Finance Minister 10 on 10 in terms of the directional signals that she has given in terms of how the economy has to move towards a $5 trillion economy. I think the budget has done exceedingly well in terms of the social indicators, in terms of how to revive and kickstart the rural economy and how to connect the rural economy with urban markets. I think I welcome a lot of the steps that have been taken in terms of the agriculture sector, in terms of the FPOs and creating the 75,000 rural agri entrepreneurs. In fact, I wrote an article in the Live Mint this morning which reflects a lot of what I spoke about, and I'm very happy that these things have been done. I also welcome the focus on some of our sustainability indicators, water, electricity and what have you. I think the startup economy also has benefited a lot from this budget. I welcome many of those steps taken. But where I felt that the Finance Minister could have gone a little bolder was really on the in the case of the corporate tax. She basically just fell short of 0.7% of India Inc., as she calls it. And I don't see why she couldn't have just taken it across the board, because you can see the markets are not happy with the budget, largely because the capital market sentiments have not been buoyed up. India Inc. could have benefited because extra profits means there is an avenue for investment and expansion. And capital markets also benefit with higher profitability emanating from India Inc. So I think we could have really gone that whole distance is what I felt. And that's where I felt that the Finance Minister fell short of taking one big bold move. But other than that, I think she has addressed many sectors, and like even the whole focus on electric vehicles. All that directionally is very good news. Where I also was a bit disappointed, and I was also very happy with the focus on research and development, but where I was a little disappointed was that although she announced the new educational policy, I think the 400 crores for the world-class institutions is only a part of what is needed for the education sector, because I think we need to double our spend from 3 to 6% of GDP in education if we really want to focus on skills and a knowledge-led economy and that aspect of what we want to be. Healthcare didn't get much of a mention. I think we badly need to up our spends in healthcare. We've already talked about the need to at least minimum double our spends, if not treble our spends. And given that we are on the Ayushman Bharat roadmap, I think these are areas which really need more allocation, is the way I put it.
Right. Kiran, I want to come back to what you said about, perhaps the misses for a moment. I agree with you that she's touched upon a whole host of areas. Yes, healthcare was a big miss there. But coming back to what the markets probably are focusing on this afternoon, whether it's the limit for public shareholding amongst listed companies, whether it's the buyback tax, some of these are probably making the markets are probably trying to digest some of this news that's come in. What are you making of these kind of measures? While there may not have been something overtly negative, so to say, in terms of a slap for capital markets like last time we had the LTCG. However, some of these moves are not really going to help to really set things going either, are they?
Well, I think, that's what I meant, that, I think there was a market expectation that, the investor sentiments would have been boosted because of the economic survey yesterday, which really talked about the urgent need to revive and kickstart a virtuous cycle of investment, consumption, exports and jobs. And I think that's where I think the markets are also very disappointed, because yes, today we have a huge problem of capacity utilization, and yet we are talking about investment. We are talking about a huge demand of mega infrastructure for the country. The government needs to kickstart that, but they're also talking about a private-public partnership model in doing that. But where is the money going to come from the private sector if you don't really reduce the tax burden? Because, we are not that competitive when it comes to corporate tax rates, because we are amongst the highest globally. So I think there was a need to give a good signal that no, Indian industry is going to be very competitive. And this is how we're at least starting with making them competitive. The tax holidays and the kind of tax sops that the Indian industry is receiving right now is to buffer many of these higher cost of capital, higher corporate tax and higher transaction cost, which really then sort of makes us competitive. But if you want to remove these tax sops, then you've got to also at least fix some of the other taxes that can, help to balance this.
Add to that the surcharge on the rich, as well as some, on the other hand, on the other extreme, some kind of protectionist measures, if you could call them that, under the guise of customs duty, so on and so forth. Slightly leftist stance, would you say, Kiran? Because she did start off the budget saying that, we are supportive of those paying tax. We're not trying to trample the industry. She did come out and make those comments, but didn't really follow it through.
Yeah, that's what I meant. As she was actually going through the budget, I was getting very, very encouraged and very optimistic that she would actually get into taking bold steps at the end. But then she fell short of that. And that's where I got a little disappointed, saying it was moving so beautifully. And then she fell short, where this is a quick fix, When we want to start reviving the economy and boosting the economy, there are a few triggers which you need to pull. Without those, you will not be able to rev up, the engine to meet that $5 trillion economy in 5 years. So we don't have time, we are racing against time. So you need to take some bold steps. It was, even in GST, she made very good, she talked about GST, she talked about the fact that it was, rolled out in a manner that maybe, that needed to be tweaked, and that they have tweaked it. But I actually fell short of saying that, well, we are further tweaking it by removing the 28% slab altogether. Those are simple signals that could have helped.
Appreciate you taking the time out and, really understanding what you made of the tone in the budget this time around, the hits, the misses, and how you've rated the overall budget.